What's going on, Cancer? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and you ready for that full moon? You feeling energized? I mean, how could you not? The moon is in Aries, so this is time to get pumped. We're seeing things clearly. Hold on, let me try to make this a little more coming in hot. But yes, Cancer, we're in this full moon phase. I hope you're feeling well and that just feeling that lunar energy. Maybe you got even a good view of the moon. If you got a view of the moon, leave a picture down in the description box below, or the description box, in the comment section below. And yeah, let's see how the moon's looking from where you're at. But before we jump into that, if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Justin, and know that when you come across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and she loves that. And this is also a place for you if you happen to have Cancer in your placement. Sun, moon, rising, maybe Mars, wherever. This one's for you. Or if you just want to set intentions with the moon. I mean, she sees us all. She's sending love down. And I do tarot card spreads based on that lovely moon there, based off our rule, the good old moon. There goes that. I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, when she's going for, of course, just all them lunar shenanigans, and there'll be plenty of them. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one, so take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope, Cancer. Let's jump into it. Yeah, I'm feeling it. The energy's feeling just potent, feeling ripe. Oh, and how appropriate for the day. I understand all this energy. Because also, depending on when you're watching this, happy Mars Day. I love that Mars is here for that. I'm going to shuffle your deck while I'm talking about this. But Mars Day. Mars is associated with Tuesdays, and this is a day for taking action. I've mentioned this before, this is one of my designated workout days, because Mars brings that energy, brings drive. This could be, too, a day of pursuing a passion of yours. What are some things that just fuel you up, that just get you invigorated, that just bring in that lust for life? Oh. I got Mars in the first house, so that might be why I'm feeling real energized, too. But also, we're getting a couple of cards here. Hold on. Get into that in a moment. Thank you, Spirit. But also, I also like, if not like on a Mars day, during like Mars hours, those are days that I like to get active as well. That could be a day, or if you find yourself noticing like, oh, it happens to be a Mars hour, and there are plenty of apps, and there are different like websites and things you can track this stuff. Maybe it's like, when was the last time I moved the body? Maybe I've been kind of sedentary for a while. Let me go for a walk. Let me go for this. Or I like to schedule, like if it's not on a Mars day, I work on a Mars, Jupiter, and Sundays. And I try to log them into and make it a point to try to get them into the Mars hour. But yeah, even try doing those things during Mars hours, just to try to pay attention to how the energies are going. So that's just another way to kind of work with Mars as well. But less than enough about that Martian. Let's get into the lunar shenanigans. Because before I talk about the full moon, I'll talk about the Aries energy first. Because the moon is going to be entering Aries on the 15th of October at about 1:34 p.m. and that's going to be Pacific time. And she's in that full moon phase. But when we're talking about Aries is, of course, ruled by Mars, and their modality is the cardinal sign. So they are one of the initiators, along with ourselves, Libra and Capricorn. Their element is fire, so that's that passion, that drive, that fuel, the thing that just keeps our creative and keeps this body going. And then they are masculine in nature, and that's their gender. So there's this active energy that goes on. And so when we're talking about this is just like, have you been feeling that lust for life? Have you been feeling like, if you haven't been feeling like invigorated, nothing's been really getting your blood pumping, maybe it's just been kind of like same old type of stuff. Let's get out of that rut. Let's do something exciting. Go on a trip. Go mountain climbing. Why not? I just saw you doing some rock wall stuff too. And maybe this is not on like a physical wall. Maybe go to a center that happens to do something along those lines. Or maybe you go for a bike ride somewhere. Go on in like a nature trail. Go off the beaten path. Maybe this is, there's just so many ways I feel that you can get active and get this energy moving with Aries. But it's just like, Maybe this could be too. Maybe if you're find something where it's like, try something you've never done before. Maybe you're like, I'm not a big fan of heights, and don't do anything that just like freaks you out. But maybe you do something where you just kind of challenge your fears a little bit. Get into something that just makes you more comfortable. Try something like, I would never do that. Give it a try, because then maybe you end up finding that you really enjoy it. Maybe it's trying a new food. Maybe it's going to a different cafe, or maybe it's going for a run, or whatever this is. There's so many ways I feel to activate this Aries energy. Now let's talk about the full moon, because that's going to be happening on the 17th of October, and it's going to specifically happen at 4:26 a.m. and again, that's Pacific time. And I happen to have a lovely chart for you here, so I'll go ahead and switch over to that. But the full moon is what happens. Let me get my handy dandy drawer out. It's when the mighty bright sun here and the moon are opposite one another. So they're forming an opposition. And this is going to be happening at 24 degrees and 35 minutes. So you want to look in your chart to see if this is working, how closely this may be working with you. This is actually, speaking of Mars, love it. This is actually, the moon would be forming a trine with my Mars place. I have Mars at 25 degrees, and would be forming, and the sun would be forming a sextile with my Mars placement. So something to think about. But when we're looking at this, the full moon is when the moon is at her brightest, and this is where things are really, like, things are illuminated. We're really understanding the conscious download that was seeded at the beginning of the lunar cycle. So this is the time where you're just like, things, just like you're really seeing things, just like sensing things clearly. The intuition, the inspiration is making sense. And the one thing that I find very interesting about this one too, this is a very action-packed full moon, because they're both separating from Mars, but both of them would have just had had formed, the sun and the moon would have formed a square with Mars not too long ago. And squares are Martian in nature. Mars is kind of like the referee in this, when we have like a T-square that's going on here. And with when we're talking about squares, they are, like I was saying, Martian in nature, when the planets are 90 degrees apart from one another. So it's when they're in like modalities, so cardinal, mutable, or fixed signs. And what I find really interesting about this full moon, and what I like about this full moon, is that Mars and the moon are in mutual reception. And so what that means is that their planets they're in each other's signs, like that they rule. The moon is in the sign that Mars rules, and Mars is in the sign that the moon rules. And if you've been having troubles maybe interpreting like what intentions have been coming up, what has been, I feel like this again could provide some insights to that. Like, because that Mars nature in Cancer, when not being mindful, can just kind of go to and fro, just be very reactive. But now the moon is there to help channel that maybe aggression, or to channel that if their energy hasn't been spent. Because again, this opposition with that squares, it could bring up a lot of things for you, especially if we've been kind of ignoring the messages. Maybe you've been needing to change your diet, but you haven't been doing things, and now we've been getting like heartburn the last couple of days. I'm just throwing out just some general examples. Or maybe you've been needing to move the body in some sort of way, you haven't, and then you go to do something that you would normally do, and then maybe we pull something. And it's just like, oh man, this is why I've been needing to maybe do some yoga, or to do something along those lines. So I feel with this full moon, this is the time to think about, or maybe consider a different way of being. I feel like this particular full moon, let me actually switch back over here, because I think that's all I want to kind of talk about. Let me take a little glance here. Well, because something too, while we're talking about expansion, because while there's forming this T-square here, something to also pay attention to is that Jupiter's in the mix of this. And Jupiter the sun would just been getting out of a trine with Jupiter, and the moon would have just got out of a sextile with Jupiter as well. So there is this opportunity for, if you've been, let's say, if you've been stuck in one type of way, consider the potential of what setting new intentions or trying let's say, a new diet or trying a new workout routine, showing up in your relationships in a different type of way, starting that business, changing that job, how those things could potentially change your life and even possibly improve your life. Because I want to talk about the Sabian symbol that this moon is falling under as well. And it's phase 25 of Aries, which is the possibility for man to gain experience at two levels of being. And I feel like that is talking about at a as I'm getting like that as above, so below energy, that at a human level and then at a spiritual level, what when you entertain new ways of growing, how that just, it doesn't just happen in the cosmos, it happens down here too, and vice versa. But the keynote for this is the revelation of new potentialities. And so if you've been feeling maybe kind of stuck in a certain type of energy, or just like, again, there's this invitation to try something new. If you've been, maybe if life has been just, there's been no zest, or there's been just like, maybe there's been health things that have been going on, if this, wherever this is happening for you in your chart, like something new can be revealed. I'll give you an example, just a kind of general thing. I have a Leo rising, and this full moon would be falling in my third house of like communication and short travels things, and the moon would be in my ninth house of God, of spirituality, religion, for long travels and things. So if there was something, if I was finding a hang up, for example, if like something was going on as far as like my environment was feeling a little stale, or that there was just feeling just like, again, some kind of stuck energy, looking to kind of foreign things that I'm not familiar with, maybe tapping into source or tapping into spirit in a new type of way. Maybe it's not through tarot astrology. Maybe I was actually listening to a podcast, and they were talking about I Ching, and there's been this one group that I'm involved in Astrology Hub. They've been doing this series talking about planetary magic, and that was, interestingly enough, one of the first books that I actually got when I was going on my spiritual path was a book on planetary magic, and I've been getting drawn back to that. I found that I've gotten, as far as astrology wise, I like the books that I have, but I'm wanting to broaden that a little bit more. So that would be just like an example of how this could potentially look, this new revelation for potentialities. I've been playing a lot in like the dream space too. I'm noticing it feels a little different than lucid dreaming per se. It more so feels, it's just I'm noticing a stronger level of awareness in my dream space, and like that kind of unconscious space, that subconscious space, which has been very fascinating and been very fun to kind of play in. So those would be like this, like, pay attention to those types of things. Any sort of like things that pique your curiosity, that just like give you this new sense of adventure. Explore that for sure. Now, last little thing I want to talk about is the void of course. Now, this is going to be happening on Jupiter Day, and this will be going from the 17th. And this will go from 4:26 a.m. till about 12:59 p.m. So we're looking at about an 8-hour and 36-minute void of course time here. And the void of course time is a time of reflection, a time to take a break and to journey within. I like to think of it as, what were some things that did come up during during the time that the moon was in Aries? What were some insights that popped up for you? And it's also a time to, just really kind of take a break to recharge your batteries, maybe do some meditation, maybe do some journaling, do some things that just help you get into the flow. Like we're in this in-between state. It was known as, the void of course was known as canadromia, which is just roaming the void. So it's just roaming the internal waters that are you. And Interesting thing with the void of course too, the final aspect that she forms with the celestial body usually kind of flavors that void of course, and I'm working with the traditional planets when I'm talking about this, and the final aspect that she formed would have been in opposition with the sun. So we're really reflecting on that full moon. If you can get out during this period of time, like while the moon is at her fullest, and if you have a view of her, sit under that for a little while. Don't, not, and it doesn't have to be a certain amount of time, just for however long it feels right for you. And pay attention to, because now the lights are talking, and the moon is how we understand the message from the sun. The moon disseminates that knowledge to us by building up these phases, because we can't, I mean, think about it, you can't directly look at the sun for a long time, but the moon allows you, being that she reflects the sunlight, you can look at the moon all night long. And so there's something deep and personal when you're surrounded by this. And I mean, you're not even surrounded by darkness, unless there's clouds or something. But the moon is, you even see the darkness in a new sense of light. There's this new perspective about, in that sort of regard, as opposed to when there's nothing in the sky at that, when the moon is conjunct the sun. So this could be just a really kind of very spiritual time, a really great time to just commune with spirit. So just some things to kind of meditate on there. And let me adjust this thing and we'll switch over here. And if you're wanting to work with the moon more intentionally, down in the description box, I have a link for the new moon groups that I host every month. And if that's something that is interesting with you, if you want to work with it's the intentions of that is working with wherever that new moon falls, whatever house that falls under for you, working with that house very intentionally, working with the moon over a 27-month cycle, and really digging deep into that, and growing and setting these kind of long-term intentions, because you could want to set a bunch of intentions during the month, but it can be hard to fit it in all during a month. But when we work with the moon in a long state, in the long haul, we can you can grow such really great things. I mean, I'm just thinking about just to give you an example of how working with this has been working for me, because I'm not going to tell you to do anything I'm not doing. The new moon in Leo, that fell right on my ascendant. It was like literally almost to the minute of my ascendant. And one of the intentions that I set for was working on my sobriety, and it's been sober ever since. It's been a process, but it's helped me to, now that I have a better grip on that, it's shown me how much power I have over external things, but also too, it's helped me to really connect with myself in this sense of spirit. It's been very, very empowering. And that's just one example of how, and I got some other things that I'm going to be bringing into attention too, that I'll talk about a little bit later. But if that's something that resonates with you, that's down in the description box, and a list of all the other services that I provide as well, whether it be working with the solar return chart. I got to get the link for that, but I'll be including something for your lunar return chart as well, or if you want to book a tarot card reading with me, all that stuff is available for you down in the description box. So definitely check that out. And then last couple of things here, these readings that I do, they're not gender specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situations. And then just to bring in some good vibes, I'm going to bring this bell here, so adjust your volume. First time user here, seems like, but I'm going to give this a couple of rings and then we will get into this thing. Groovy. All right, let's get into this thing. Look at these strong animals. Oh, interesting. And they're like back to back. So you have wow, I love that. So you have the wolf spirit card here, which is turn knowledge into wisdom. And then you have the next card, the wombat spirit, which is be at home. And wow, I got an energy of being at home in your wisdom. It's in being at home in the knowledge that you've learned. I feel like this is a time where this turn your knowledge is like, sometimes I feel we can spend a lot of time maybe just like accumulating and learning and learning and learning and learning, but not really taking the time to integrate. I'm getting like a King of Swords energy where it's great to have knowledge, but if you're not doing anything with it, then it's just knowledge. It's just like it's just you. It's I'm getting like Gemini in a sense and Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini right now. So it's like this is the time to not necessarily not expand, but expand in a different type of way. We're in a state of, I'm getting really a state of integrating. Be knowledge, or if wisdom is knowledge in practice, is knowledge in motion here. You can read about all different ways of working out and things, but if you're not doing the workouts, you don't know if those actually going to work for you. You may see someone say that like, oh, run 10 miles a day, and it's just like, no, that may work for you, but maybe I need to run 2 miles a day and spread it out differently. But I feel this wombat spirit, this be at home. It's giving me even just like this of being at home, more so like in your body. I feel more so than like an actual physical home space. And just getting comfortable with your innate knowledge, even. Understanding that Source has given you the tools that you need, but now we need to meditate on this thing. Like, let me get some tarot on this and get some details with that. All right. Thank you, Spirit. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so you have the Seven of Swords, the Art card, which is a Temperance card, that's Sagittarius energy, the Two of Disc, the Six of Cups, and the Princess of Disc here. Now, this Two of Disc, I mean, when you look at this, there's this infinity sign that's happening here when you turn it sideways. But I'm getting there's the Two of Disc is like a card in this deck. There's like this card of changes. There's this changes that are happening, but they're needing to solidify. It's because this is Jupiter in Capricorn, and Jupiter's in his fall in Capricorn, and that just means where I feel like it's getting to this place of not being told what to do. It's like the student graduating and now you're becoming the teacher. Now you're in this, the roles are reversed now. Now you're needing to take this knowledge and things that you integrate and be... And it's like, it's giving me this, like this allowing your innate gifts to flourish, allowing you, like the how you understand something to shine through. This Princess of Disc, she's pregnant with life. She has all this stuff that she's willing to give. But it's like she's not asking like the Queen of Disc how she's going to build this forest. It's just like she's taking the lessons from here and she's just channeling it. She's channeling it the way that she knows how to. The Seven of Swords can be... This giving me, I'm thinking, being drawn to like the futility of this card. It's futile to try to copy someone. It's one thing to want to emulate a teacher. You love the way that their style is, but it's just like you have to bring the thing that's going to make you stand out is you. And I feel like the Six of Cups is having fun with what you have to share. That you are setting a new foundation for others to follow in, maybe in your footsteps, possibly to continue this passing down of knowledge and be that wisdom in practice. But still, you'll still be you're a student as well. But it's like, be at home with this new stage of life that you're in. You know, we're past this place of where we're in, you know, we're not in that past light anymore. And it may have been easier when someone was guiding you and telling you things to do, but even then, when you just follow what another person's doing, you lose that individuality. You lose that sense of creativity, and then it just kind of becomes this echo chamber, in a sense. And I'm even getting a message of being mindful of maybe teachers or anyone who has, maybe is more knowledgeable about you in a certain area that you're learning. Be mindful about them telling you that their way is the only way of doing something. It's always comes down to, no matter what you're receiving, take what resonates with you and leave the rest with them. Like I've mentioned in this in the channel, where I've had numerous people that I've would learn from, that I've picked up definitely different techniques and things, whether this be in music or in astrology, everything that I've learned thus far. But at some point I had to find my own way, and it's been, honestly, it's been really enjoyable as well, because then I'm able to bring a different, when I talk with them about the ways that I'm going about stuff, it's just like, if we can bring this new thing that comes together. It's if there are these opposites, very clear opposites in this card here, these full moon, there's this opposition energy, but when those two things can come together, they can even create an even newer thing that happens here. Let me get some more on this. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you have the Eight of Wands and the Nine of Wands here. And this Eight of Wands can be a card of messages. And I think that there's this thing here of letting your own unique messages shine through. Because again, I'm thinking about this when I was talking about with this Aries, a need of, it feels like the energies can get stuck in a rut sometimes. I even found where I've been kind of revising what I've been listening to and paying attention. I'm noticing where my thoughts are different than what others, like even just like astrologers, for example, are, but it's not that I don't agree with their messages, but I just there's certain things that I don't. If I had to give an example of this, it would be how when people think about, or I won't say people, I won't generalize, when I've noticed that when certain people are talking about, let's say, Cancer, there's this like the Moon Cancer fourth house, where they are three separate things. The moon does this thing, Cancer is another thing, and the fourth house is another thing. They're not synonymous, and that's something that I feel very strongly about. And it's not to say how they're doing things are wrong. It's just that there are different messages that I want to consider, because what I'm saying is still in what they're saying, but it's just a different perspective that's happening. And that's where I feel like it's, in order to keep the energy alive, to keep the energy moving, there needs to be a different perspectives. Like you need to have strength to keep your passion and keep your field, the knowledge and wisdom that you have, and be at home in maybe even potentially people challenging what you think or what you consider knowledge or something along those lines. I feel is another thing kind of coming through there. But let me get a little bit more with this Eight of Wands here and get a clarifier on this. Oh, I'm gonna get okay. We're gonna give messages for both of them. Okay. So let me get a little bit more for this Nine of Wands. Thank you, Spirit. So the Eight of Wands is clarified by the Queen of Wands, and then the Nine of Wands is clarified by the Eight of Swords and the Five of Moons. Now this Queen of Wands here she's active. She's going with full force. This Aries energy for me. And I feel like this is you taking your messages and taking your wisdom out there and just going with it. Again, being comfortable in this new possibility. We were talking about that, this revelation of new potentialities that are happening. You graduating from student to teacher. In that transition or taking where you're going from like getting into this new role here that's happening and just getting comfortable in that, and that it's just as it took you repetition and time and practice to get into this role. Like I'm even thinking like, let's say if you go from like an employee role and going to step into like maybe a supervisory role or a management role, it's going to take some time to be at home with that, but let that be fun. Let that be something that fuels you up. Like, oh, I'm getting ready to, I thought I maybe hit a ceiling, but now I can break through that. Because now with that Nine of Wands, you have that Five of Moons and the Eight of Swords. It's like maybe you've been kind of disappointed with the messages that have been going on, or maybe you've noticed that the growth has stagnated, that things have become a little dry, or have become a little, just kind of mundane, or even kind of monotonous, or something along those lines. But now we're in this place where Jupiter and Gemini, the Eight of Swords, we're needing to free some things up to be able to stretch past our comfort zone a little bit. And that's going to require some energies. That's going to require this extra strength, this vitality, this focus that's needing to come through. This Eight of Wands, because sometimes I think, too, it can be easy just to want to stay in that forever student energy is what I'm getting with that, to kind of scatter your knowledge all over the place possibly here. But it's like it's giving me just this jack of all trades, but, maybe master of some, but not even that. Like it's just, and more so kind of master of none. Like no kind of real honing a craft here. And this Eight of Swords is going from this kind of like scattered energy to a more organized, focused energy. Look at this. Look at the sun and the moon opposing one another. There's this new revelation here, this illumination that's happening. How fascinating. This is the moon in Sagittarius, so we got a fire moon that's going on here. But maybe with this Five of Cups, you may feel like, well, what if I don't? There's certain things that I don't know. There's certain things that I still can grow in. It's just like, yeah, this is going to be the nature of the journey. Absolutely, there's going to be more things that you need to grow. But as long as there's that passion behind it that you want to grow, there's nothing to fear. And it's just going to be, again, learning experience now. Even like I said, when you become the teacher, you are still honing your craft. Because they're even your students and people who you're teaching will bring about new insights that'll just keep making your craft more exciting. And I think that's something to look forward to. It just invites, and then it's just like, wow, look at how like something really beautiful is coming from that. I really like that. Alrighty, let's get some advice from Mars. Okay. Thanks, Spirit. Ooh, last little bit here. Look at the moon. You got the priestess card here. And let's switch back over. There's the high priestess. But this, look at the priestess. She's in her flow. She is in this deep, the energies are moving. She's in her zone. She's at home because now she's in a place where it's like, okay, now I am not necessarily in a sense on my own, but I'm in a place where I need to trust my own devices, where I need to really trust my intuition and know that as the more that I do that, the more that this craft is going to be perfected, the more that I'm going to feel at home into this state of, into this wise high priestess energy that you're in. You went from the initiate to where you're, no goodness, I got the energy of like where you're in this channeling goddess energy, because the moon in traditional astrology, she rejoices in the third house, which was known as the house of the goddess. But also too, there's this bow that's sitting on the priestess's lap, and that's representative of Artemis. And Artemis, if I'm remembering correctly, there's this association with like the protection of children. And it's knowing that like it's, even though you've evolved from a, let's say, that childlike student to that adult, you haven't lost the protection. There's still the energies. Oops, the energies are still flowing around you, and you're creating this new cornucopia. You're taking, there's this camel here. You're taking. Oh, interesting. How camels store water in that hump. I think that's what they do. Look that up. Don't quote me on that. But they're able to make those long treks across the water because of that. They've stored this. I feel like this, that divine cosmic energy, that divine, that again, that inner knowing that you have, that innate knowledge that comes in you, that's inherent to you. And now it's just like spreading that and letting that become this cornucopia, or this like spreading this abundance around, and just keeping that flowing. These beams here, just like that are flowing across the high priestess. She's manipulating these energies that are like a G, like this master here. So allow the change to happen and trust that you're going to know what to do. And there are going to be some situations where you may feel like you're just kind of winging it, but you have everything that you need. The high priestess knows. She just knows. But I think that's all I got for you. So if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And then subscribe there, priestess. Hit that bell button to get notified on all these videos each day. And then last little bit, if you're wanting to know what's going on outside of the lunar shenanigans in the cosmos, come on over to my other channel, Alchemist 8, where I talk about, one thing I do is talk about the weekly transits that are going on and how we can set intentions with those energies. And then also I have videos, shorter videos that I do talking about different planets in different signs and different house placements. So if you happen to have that, I have them all listed under different playlists. And I have these dice here. They're intuitively led. I just roll them, and then the spirit tells me which video I'm doing. So all that housekeeping is down in the description box below. But let me get your surprise card or cards here, so I can get you out of here. Thanks, Spirit. Look at you accepting your gifts. You have the Radical Acceptance card here, which is a card of embrace non-judgment and release control. And I do feel like there is a need to release control. Like you know as much as you're gonna know. And I've mentioned where if I would have waited to start up my channel, as far as like, oh well, I need to know more about, like, I need to read like all of the books on astrology, all the sources of tarot. I never started up because there's so much information out there. But I feel like it's just doing the thing because you feel intuitively guided. Don't judge yourself in this. Know that it's going to be a work in progress, but the more that you work on it, the more progress that you make. And that's what I feel matters at the end of the day. And it is releasing the control that if it's you may have this vision of how perfect it's gonna be, but spirit to surprise you and let you know like no, it is perfect, just maybe not in the way that you thought it was gonna be. When I started this channel, it was a number of things. I find myself sometimes looking back at like I found like an old notebook of when I was first like writing notes and things along those lines, little references for myself, and I look at how my notes have evolved. They're less about what other people have told me, and now it's just like times and dates, and it's just my inner knowledge now, and the knowledge that keeps growing. And I feel the sooner that you accept that, the more I feel kind of downloads here will flow in for you. The sky is just getting rained on, and I feel like that's the cosmic waters that are just flowing through you. It just keeps spirit is just like saturating you, and now it's just allowing that stuff to settle in, embrace the changes, and balance that flow. All right, but I think I'm going to leave that there. With something to meditate on. But until next time, keep raising that consciousness and that vibration through the roof. Keep eyes on the moon, especially that full moon. And I will catch you on the next one. I'm going to catch you Jupiter Day.